because this is the Speak Easy podcast where we talk about the behind the scenes of what it means to be the successfully paid speaker and author. I am your host, Alex Pelzer, the voice coach, professional speaker, certified life coach, and founder of the World Voice League, a community of speakers and entrepreneurs coming together to impact social change. So guys, I am super excited about today's episode simply because I've been very, very intentional within the last year when it comes to where I'm showing up, who I'm talking to, who I'm connecting with, what opportunities I'm saying yes and no to, which are really important if you're moving towards success and building a great foundation and connecting with some amazing people on this journey towards success. So I'm excited because our guest today, listen, I've gotten to watch her do some phenomenal things and listen to some of the things that she's on her way to doing. Excited about those because guess what? You know that when you see someone else make it and become successful, that same thing can be, that can be your journey. That can be your opportunity as well. Not in a comparison way, but just knowing that the opportunities are endless. So I'm going to say hello to our guest for today and allow her to introduce herself to the audience.
Hello. I'm so excited to be here, Altavis. Thank you so much for inviting me. And I was so thrilled to be a part of the World Voice Summit and be able to have a conversation with everyone who was present for that and with you. So thank you so much. And I'm super excited to be here today. So my name is Bryna Haynes, and I am a coach and an inspirational speaker and a catalyst for conscious evolution. And what I teach is a method called quantum evolution. And what I've done is I've kind of brought together elements of quantum science, neurohacking, spirituality, manifestation, all the things actually that are very much the same, just from different ends of the spectrum. And I've created a pathway for people to create intentionally, to evolve intentionally. And so I love that we're talking about intentionality today, because that's so right up my alley. And I'm really excited to just share with everyone who's watching some of the ways, small little ways, not giant burn your bridges kind of things, but small little ways that we can show up with more intention every single day and create our reality according to our dream and not according to our default.
That part. Oh my goodness. That's a great segue into kicking it off, because a lot of times when we talk about being intentional, that's the first thing that rears its ugly little head is, I can't do this because of ... And everybody's ... is something different. It could be, I can't do it because I'm not the right weight yet. I'm too short. I'm too tall. I have a gap in my teeth. I have this, I have that. And we do this big comparison. So what would you say is that first thing to combat those negative things, those, things that we see as flaws, that we're like, okay, I want to be intentional, but I have this going on?
Oh, of course. I mean, we all have stuff going on. And it's really tempting to use that as a way out. So nothing that is outside of your current reality is going to feel comfortable right now. We all have our comfort zones, and our brains are actually designed to keep us there. So anything that's outside the current sphere of normal for us, our brain will question. It'll look for reasons why we shouldn't do it. And we'll come up with all of these reasons and excuses to stop ourselves from pushing the boundaries of that comfort zone. It's a totally natural process. Everyone goes through it. However, what you have to remember is that if it's not in your current reality, it's not in your comfort zone. And if you're creating something that is beyond where you've been before, if you're creating something that is bigger than you've ever done, if you're creating something that maybe never has been done before, there's no way that's in your comfort zone. And so in order to be intentional about creating that, you also have to be intentional about making your work bigger than your fear. And so what you have to do is you have to ask yourself, Is my fear of being judged more important than what I have to say on that stage? Is my fear of being shamed for whatever's going on? You know, I'm too fat, I'm too short, I'm too this, I'm too that. We always have these things that we say about ourselves. Is that fear more important than what I'm bringing to the table? More important than my mission? And if the answer is no, then there's no excuse anymore. You have just created a new metric by which to judge your decisions.
I love that, because we have to go back and say, you know, is it deep enough? A lot of times we want to, you know, we have some surface reasons why we do things. And those surface reasons, they don't always push us through to success. They get us to a certain point, but when it really gets tough, those surface reasons, they kind of fade away. And now we're stuck with this huge, you know, decision in front of us. And we're like, okay, what are we really basing this off of? Where are we really coming from when it comes to saying yes or no to this opportunity? And so I see that it happening, especially I know our studio audience, they're normally those who are within the first 5 years of building this speaking business or this author career. And it's like, okay, I thought I wanted it because I wanted something for my children. You know, I thought I wanted it for a better life for me and my husband, but it doesn't really seem to be it. And so when they kind of come into that moment where they're like, okay, I don't know what my why is, what would you say to them?
Oh my goodness, that is so huge. So I went through that actually fairly recently, a little over a year ago. And it was part of what catapulted me into what I'm doing now. And I had a fantastic business as a book coach, an author, a ghostwriter, an editor. And I loved my clients. I loved the work I was doing. I was working mostly with women in the inspirational book sphere. And it was great. But I also knew that a part of me wasn't claiming my stage. And I was working behind the scenes to bring everybody else's big ideas to fruition. And I wasn't doing that with my big ideas. And believe me, anyone who knows me knows that I have more big ideas than you can shake a stick at. And I'm not afraid to tell people. So, so what am I doing? I mean, my entire life, I've been like, you know, I have all these ideas and I'm just going to tell them to you. And I'm always like creating businesses for people and solving problems for people and giving people all the information they need to move forward. And so why am I not doing this in my business? So I had worked really hard to grow this writing-based business, and it was doing really well. And I had these income goals that I had set, and they were ambitious, especially because I was giving birth that year and, you know, taking a maternity leave. And, you know, so my daughter was born, I did a short maternity leave, I was hustling, I met my income goal, and I felt absolutely no different, zero difference. And I was like, what the hell? What's going on? And I had a kind of a teenage meltdown around it. My family, my husband and my kids and I took a trip. And, you know, I'm like, okay, on this trip, I'm going to get all this clarity around my purpose, and I'm going to connect to why I'm doing this and all the things. And 3 weeks in, I got nothing. And I'm just like, what is going on? So after many conversations with friends and a lot of introspection, what I realized is that I had been pushing for the wrong thing. I thought I wanted the income. I mean, yeah, it was great, but at the same time, wasn't really what I wanted. What I wanted was to feel valuable and to feel like I was valuing myself and to feel like I was bringing value into the world. Totally different than making money, right? So when we look at our big goals and our big dreams, what we need to do is get to the why behind the why. All of us want $1 million business. All of us want to be speaking on big stages. All of us want to be sharing our purpose and our mission. But what is the why for you? What is it? Is it because you want to bring value and feel valuable? Is it because you're wanting to create security? Is it because you want to feel the sense of freedom that comes from owning your own business? Whatever it is, it doesn't matter what it is. But those keywords that are behind the tangible outcome, not the thing that you want to get, but the way that you want to feel when you get the thing, that's what you really need to tap into. And if that's not strong enough, then you're probably moving in the wrong direction. Or you just need a little 2-degree shift, like from money to value, right? From just money itself to abundance, or from travel to freedom, right? Not the same thing, but they're in the same direction. So look at that and really get in touch with what is it that you're actually trying to create. And then that becomes the sort of the candle that you hold up to every decision you make. Is this aligned with the freedom I want? Is this aligned with the value I'm creating? Is this aligned with the security that I'm creating? And the answers will become so much clearer when you have that measuring stick in your toolbox.
Oh my goodness. So I'm sitting here and I'm like smiling from ear to ear, because in my journey, that has literally been where that's where I'm at. Is that when I took my mindset off of it just being about the money, and I put it about, it's about the service. I wanted to create platforms for speakers and authors to be able to have their voice heard. That's everything that I do, everything I touch. That's what I want it to be about. And some people were like, oh, well, why are you doing this? And why are you doing this for free? And I don't understand why you're doing that. And I just had to keep going back in my mind and saying, okay, why are you doing this? Okay, no, you're doing this because you want to open up a platform where speakers and authors can have their voice heard. And so in doing that, I've seen so much success. I've seen so many opportunities open up. Just recently did a book collaboration that went to #1 bestseller. I have another book collaboration for my brand that's about to come out. So it's always been, as I move forward, if I'm moving forward in service, I get so much more traction. I get so much more people. Even with doing the summit last month, that was service. That we had slots that were absolutely free, and they had some slots that were paid for, and it was okay. They had longer times on there, but it was because I said, okay, I know that there are plenty of people out there that have something to offer the world. Let me give them an opportunity. Now, what you do with that opportunity, but you have the opportunity. But I've been able to connect. I mean, we were able to connect with people literally all over the world between the podcast, the blog is starting to jump and getting all types of traction. And it was all because I went and I said, okay, who am I serving? What am I doing? What am I trying to do for them? And even I found that this weekend when I was speaking, it changed in the conversation and the speech that I prepared. Because now, again, it was more about the service. It wasn't just telling you, how you can sign up for a class or how you can sign up for a program, but it was about the service, how I could be of service to you. And people signed up without a second question.
That's amazing. And that's exactly what I'm talking about. So every decision that you're making, you're holding up against that metric of, is this serving authors and speakers to have their voices heard? And when you start making decisions from a place like that, even the tiny sort of day-to-day decisions, should I go to that networking meeting? Should I take that, that speaking gig? Weigh it against what you're actually trying to create. Is this aligned with my values? Is this aligned with who I want to be? Maybe not who I'm being right now, but who I want to be. And the more you make decisions from that place of embodying the person that you are becoming instead of who you are right now, you're creating from a place of expansion. Now, those decisions that are aligned with the person you're becoming, those are going to probably be the ones that are outside of your comfort zone. They're the ones that are going to stretch you. Quite frankly, some of them are going to feel like shit. They're going to feel so awful because they're so unfamiliar to you. Saying yes to speaking in front of a large audience when you've never done it before is the most terrifying thing that you could ever do, right? At least for most of us. I mean, some people are just naturals on the stage, but for introverts like you and me, I know that it's very, very hard. And since we're not used to being that person, it feels like such a challenge, and it's so tempting to find all the reasons to say no. But the fact is that inspired action, and people talk about inspired action all the time, and I think that this is a huge disservice to the personal growth community when people talk about inspired action as being easy, because inspired action is the opposite of easy. Inspired action is action that is triggered, that is inspired, that is informed by where you are going and where you are expanding to. It's not in your comfort zone. It never will be. And so when you take those inspired actions, they might be easier than you think. They might be more in flow than you think. But at first, they are not going to feel like the easy way. They're not going to feel like the natural way. They're going to feel like a stretch, and that is as it should be. So to anyone who's waiting to make that decision, who's waiting to say yes until it feels easy, waiting to say yes and until it feels like it's just a natural progression, waiting to say yes until they feel like they fit the part that they're expecting of themselves. If you keep waiting, it's not going to happen for you. You have to be willing to say yes before you become the person who can embody that. Because the only way to become an internationally renowned speaker is to speak. The only way to become an author is to write. The only way to become a coach is to coach. You can't just wait for it to fall on you. And I know that I made that mistake for so many years. I was waiting for the universe, the world, my reality, to give me permission to follow my dreams. Hell no, not anymore. And I know so many amazing people who are so talented, who are waiting for that external feedback to give them permission to do what they are here to do. And I just have to tell you, I mean, maybe once in a lifetime you'll get lucky, but are you really willing to wait for that? I'm not willing to wait around for that.
I'm not willing
I can't.
No.
No, I'm only here for a short time. I mean, I turned 40 this year. It felt like a big deal to me. I'm like, holy crap, this is like probably kind of almost the halfway point. And I better get my ass in gear. Like, I got to get moving. So I'm not waiting for anything anymore. I am moving forward, and I am going to stay true to that vision that I have. And I'm going to do what it takes to be the person who can have what it is that I'm dreaming of. And I think if we were all willing just to do that, to make decisions not from where we are, but from where we intend to be, and think like the people who have what we want, and think like the version of ourselves who has what we want, this whole procrastination, this whole self-doubt, this whole avoidance or waiting for permission, that would all just go away. And it's not easy. I don't want to give the impression that it's easy or instantaneous, but it is a choice. And it's a choice you can make in the moment.
Oh, that is so, oh my goodness, right on time, that it is a choice. And I think a lot of times I know this is going to hurt somebody. This is going to be a little painful, but I think a lot of times we have given the power of choice to somebody else.
Oh, yeah. And if it's not another person, it's the world, it's the economy, it's the president, it's the weather, it's something. And, you know, I've heard so many people say, oh my God, I really want to start this business, but the economy. And yes, there are some external things going on, but that does not mean that your opportunities are not present. That does not mean that when you feel that inner push that says, it's time, that you should let something that is so peripheral to who you are make that choice for you. Yes, we're all operating in this collective. However, there are infinite possibilities available to us within this space that we're living in. We just have to know that we need to look for them and that we need to embrace them when they come. And that is a choice.
I definitely have to agree with you there. And when making that choice, listen, sometimes you just got to jump. Sometimes we just got to use that 5-second rule and just go ahead and count it down and make it happen. And the other piece of that, when it comes to being intentional, that I think many people don't pay attention to, is that I have to be willing to research what it is I am about to do. Because I think a lot of times they think being intentional means I'm just jumping blindly into that next level, that next opportunity. And that's not the case at all.
Not at all. And I feel like I'm like a living example of all the mistakes that can be made as an entrepreneur because, excuse me, when I started my writing business, that is exactly what I did. When I started my writing business, I was 26 or 27 years old. I had a great career as a master stylist at a salon in Providence, Rhode Island. I was making amazing money. I had incredible clients. And I was like, you know what? I think I'm done with this. I think I want to be a writer. And I closed up shop and I started my writing business with no plan, with no intention other than I want to be a writer. And it was a scramble. And if you are willing to do the work, you can make it work. If you jump off the bridge and you'll find your wings and it will happen, but it won't always happen in the way that you thought it was going to. And for me, that turned out to be a blessing, but I was really lucky. And I think that there are so many other ways that it could have gone. And the fact that I was willing to do anything and try anything was helpful because eventually I found my niche and I found my ideal clients and I started becoming more intentional about the projects I was taking. But it took a good couple of years and a couple of years where I didn't have a solid financial footing and I didn't have a real pathway. And it was incredibly stressful. So when we're talking about intentionality, it is actually the most intentional thing that you can do to be sure of where you want to go. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't be flexible and that you can't change directions when the universe drops an incredible gift in your lap that feels like it's taking you in the direction of what you really want, which of course, again, are those core values, not the actual outcomes, the physical outcomes, but the ways that you want to feel. But really, when I talk about making decisions from a place of being the version of you who can have what you want, your future self who's running that successful business, who's doing this successful speaking career, they know how to run a business and they know how to speak successfully. So if you want to make decisions as that version of you, you need to do the learning. You need to research. You need to be able to have not a full idea, but at least some idea of what you're getting yourself into. And it just gives you additional ways to make congruent choices. And no one I have ever met has ever said, wow, I'm so sorry I learned all of that stuff about what it was that I was interested in. Does anybody ever say that? No one's ever said that. No one ever said, I'm so sorry I spent that time researching. I totally should have been watching Game of Thrones. Like, never. Right?
Yeah, I may have had one or two moments where we say, I wish I hadn't have read that book.
Once, yes. Okay. I will give you that. But really, like, no one ever regretted learning about something that they were passionate about. And so when people want to just jump without a net, to me, it's usually because they're trying to escape the reality that they've created in the moment. And they're trying to escape the job that's sucking their soul. They're trying to escape the current business that's not feeding their fulfillment. They're trying to escape something about their current situation. And if you are not intentional, if you are not making choices that are aligned with where you want to be and not just where you are right now, I can tell you from experience, you're going to create the same old mess in a different dress. It's just the way it is. You're going to end up in a new job with the same problems. You're going to end up in a new business with the same problems because you are not thinking outside of your comfort zone. And that is the hard truth. You have to do this work from the inside out, because no matter what business you're in, no matter what you're creating, it all starts here.
Oh my goodness, that is just thinking about that whole process and thinking about everything, looking at it from the inside out, looking from, on my side of the journey and saying, yeah, guys, listen, it took some time to get to this point. But if I had not have done it when I did do it, things would be different now. And so one of the things that I was explaining to people, I said, in 2016 was that year that I really made that decision. It started in 2015, but 2016 was like, this is the year I'm making some changes. I did the research, I took the classes, and I went all in and made the investments that were necessary for me to access what I needed. And from then until, 2017, I was able to leave my job, full-time job. And that was like bananas, right? And then we go from being able to leave my job, and then the next year, here it is, we're 2 years later, and the job that I left, they're closing. If I had not have been intentional in that moment and went ahead and made the investments and put myself in a position to learn what I needed, then right now I would be looking for another job.
Yeah, you'd be jumping without a net. Exactly. And so we all get impatient, I think, is another problem. And this is so true for me. Like, okay, I'm done with what's going on. I need to create something new, and I need it now because I'm just done. And it's okay to feel that way, because that energy is going to take you through your transition. But again, being intentional, take the time to sit down and ask yourself, what do I really want? How do I really want to feel? What is it that I want to bring into the world? Not by default, but by design. And when you have at least a grasp on the way that you want to feel, like even if you have no idea what it's going to look like, if you have a grasp on the way you want to feel, then you can start making those informed, aligned decisions. And there is no faster path to your dreams than making every single little daily decision in alignment with that dream. You're not running yourself in circles anymore. You can't always control when the external stuff is going to show up, and that's okay. But if you make every decision, every phone call, every networking event, every conversation is in alignment with what it is that you want and who it is that you're becoming. If you show up to your networking events as the successful, completely abundant version of you, not with the external trappings, but with the way that you present yourself, you are going to receive back what is in alignment with that. There's this huge difference between walking into a room and saying, hey, I'm Bryna and I'm an inspirational speaker, and I am so excited to share this message with you because this is so mind-blowing. I'm just over the moon about what I'm sharing. And then if I had never spoken, if I had never had an opportunity to share yet, and I walked into a networking event and I was like, hey, yeah, I'm starting up this thing where I'm thinking about speaking, and I really have this inspirational message, but I haven't really gotten it out there yet. Totally different vibe. And how are people going to respond? They're going to respond to the current me, the scared me, as someone who will absolutely have something to offer, but maybe just not now. And they're going to respond to the version of me where I'm standing in my message and standing in who I want to become. They're going to respond to that person as someone who can offer something now, someone who has something to share now. And so it's not about being dishonest. It's not about being inauthentic. It's just about knowing that there are so many versions of you that you can be, and you get to pick who you show up as every day. And so the version of you who can be your best self is already present and within you. You just have to choose to step into that from moment to moment to moment.
And so I'm looking, and in the chat, they're going in and agreeing with what you're saying. And I said, it's interesting. That is so key, and people miss it when they're getting started. That first 5 years, we're so focused on trying to find the right way to use Facebook ads, and which graphics should I use, and should I use Ripple or not use Ripple? And like the surface things that 3 to 5 years in, now they're walking around going, okay, I'm still not happy. I'm still not at that place. And so I definitely agree with you in that place. And I it's so interesting because I always ask the question, what has been a blunder for you in this journey so far? And I feel like we've kind of hit on a couple different ones already.
I have loads more, believe me.
I feel like we've hit on a couple different ones already, but I still want to ask that question. What has been a blunder for you in this journey so far? Because we have to, I always tell people, you have to understand that everything is not going to go perfectly. There's going to be stuff. It could be something as simple. We've had people talk about, their book being the font in their book being the size 10 instead of the 12, and all different types of things like that. So for you, what has been a blunder for you so far in your journey?
Oh, that is such a good question. And I think really the thing that came up immediately when you said that was not owning my value. And so before I got super clear on the fact that I wanted to value myself, to feel valuable, to deliver value to the world, I was just sort of milling around and like doing my projects and sort of tackling everything on this individual basis. Like each project was its own little microcosm, and I was working in that and giving it my all, but there was no greater vision really. And so my blunders have really been about making decisions that were out of alignment with what I really wanted, because I never took the time to sit down and figure out what that was. So discounting major projects because I wanted to work with the client and they were balking at my price, or undervaluing my services, or being unintentional with my time because I wasn't valuing me. And so I was giving away more of my time than I really needed to or really wanted to. My business was taking over my life because I said yes because I wanted subconsciously to feel like I was providing value. But then that was taking away from my time with myself, with my babies, with my husband, with, my life. And I wasn't having a life outside of my business because I was pouring all of my energy into trying to create value. So until I got clear on what it was that I wanted, I was making decisions that were completely counterproductive. And so again, it's not about ego, and it's not about money, and it's not about any of that. It's saying, I have created these parameters because I value myself and I value what I offer. And I'm going to create parameters that allow you to value that too. And I was so afraid to hold those boundaries for so long. And then when I finally got over that, I feel like everything changed. And I just started attracting clients who were like, cool. And that was it, Yeah, I totally understand. You have kids. You totally need to be done by 5 o'clock, like little things, right? But until I owned my value in that, there was no way that other people could do it. And there just wasn't any way for them to do it. I had to teach the people in my life to value me and my time. And I think that really was the biggest consistent over and over blunder that I was doing in my business for a long, long time.
I think there are many that can definitely relate to that. It's that thing of, do I charge this amount? And we go back to what we talked about in the beginning. Is it more about the service or is it more about the money? If it's more about the money, then yeah, you'll give up your time at any time. You won't have boundaries. You'll discount your prices over and over and over again. And you'll discount it because of what they may be going through, but you can't pay your bills with you, if you're always discounting your stuff and discounting what you offer, your value. So I definitely have to agree with you there. I went through that same process when it came to speaking, and because we always talk about this whole being a paid speaker and what it really means. So there were many ways that I discounted myself when first starting and doing events, and even making an investment in an event and not really understanding how to convert and things of that nature. So it definitely, it was a process, man, and it was not an easy one. It was definitely not an easy one, but I'm very thankful and grateful that I was able to figure it out. And I didn't put myself too much in a hole before actually figuring it out. And I know that there are some out there that may be listening to this via the replay that say, oh my goodness, I'm still going through that. What's my process of getting out of that? What's that step that I need for getting out of that? And I'm going to say one of your steps may be connecting with Brenda. That may be your opportunity to get out of where you are. And so let them know how they can get in contact with you and find you on social media.
Absolutely. So I'm on Facebook under Bryna Haynes, Choose Your Evolution. I'm on Instagram and Twitter under Bryna Haynes. And, excuse me, I'm going to cough. And you can find me at brynahaynes.com, BRYNAHAYNES.com. And everything you need to know about me is there.
Great. This has been a phenomenal episode, guys. And I thank you so much for coming on. You guys know that I get really excited when we have guests on because it gives you an opportunity to see that your journey is just that it's a journey. There are things that are going to go right. There may be things that go wrong, but you're not the only one on this journey to success. And sometimes it's a lot better for you to learn from the mistakes of someone else as opposed to learning and doing those mistakes on your own. So that is what the Speak Easy podcast is all about, guys. I that's what the platform is all about. The World Voice League, the Speak Easy podcast, and our Voice Matters blog. It's about giving you an opportunity to have your voice heard, but also that you can see that you are not the only one. They talk about if you yell in a forest, will anybody hear you? Well, guess what? You're not in the forest by yourself. We're all in this forest. We may be in different parts of the forest, but we're all in this forest, and we can definitely hear each other calling out for the help and support that we need. Guys, this is the Speak Easy podcast. I love it. I love it. And I want to know how much you love it. As a Speak Easy podcast studio audience member, I want to know, what did you think about this particular episode? Go and leave us a review over on the podcast, over on iTunes, by going to bit.ly/Speak Easy Podcast Show, all lowercase. By all means, if you are a speaker or an author, I would love to have you on as a guest as well. If you go to bit.ly/Speak Easy Podcast, you can choose a date and time that works best for you. So with that being said, I am your host, Altavie Spelzer, the voice coach, professional speaker, certified life coach, and founder of the World Voice League, guys. And until next time, don't forget to press it out. See ya.